Right. Hello, hello, hello. We are now live. I'm just going to turn off my Wi-Fi, so my Bluetooth. So you might go quiet for a second. 1 second. So we should now be live. If you're here, just let me know. Obviously, just drop a hi in the comments or anything. What I will do is I'm just going to check that we are actually live. Otherwise, I'm just talking to myself. This is the weekly Fast Track FBA live. Yeah, I can see. I'm live there in the Facebook group. That's great. So we do it in the Fast Track FBA USA Facebook group. And I'll also just check now we're actually live in YouTube. Obviously, if you're here, you're joining, drop your questions down below. I will answer them. This whole point is the whole point behind this kind of like session today is really just to support you guys in your businesses. So if you've got questions you want to ask me, then obviously we can do that. We can answer them. So obviously I can talk about my business, but I'd much rather help you guys out with that. I'm live in the YouTube channel as well. Cool. So obviously ask me any questions if you're here. If there's anything I can help you with, but obviously I'll just kind of talk you through. The whole point is about supporting you guys. If you've got questions in your business, anything you want to know, any kind of like challenges you're facing or what's going on, then obviously let me know in the comments down below. The one thing which I will say just from my side, we're looking at the UK side, we're seeing a real decline in margins across the board. There's a lot of competition, a lot of price crashing. My repricer pretty much matches the lowest buy box, and we've just seen that like down over the last couple of weeks has been really big. It's been a big impact. So kind of reevaluating what we're doing, the way we're looking at it, and what kind of solutions. Not 100% sure on the answer yet, but also I'll keep you updated in the videos as we go through. We've got to kind of like figure out what we want to do in the approach. But we're doing that. What else are we doing? So USA, we're just finalizing the year-end accounts for December for the US accounts, and obviously January as well get finalized, and then moving on to March next year or next month, which is great. So really looking forward to that, and obviously looking to continue growing that. We're doing a goal of 1 million. I think so far this year we're on track. We're on track for the 1 million in the USA. Margins are obviously a lot better than what they are in the UK. That's something that's really important. And another thing which I will just say is we're just putting together some information. We're putting into like a small, easy to use kind of like getting started guide that will be about everything we've learned from getting started in Amazon USA. So not so much about selling on Amazon, but like the corporate entity, what you're creating, what you need to do, and the way that works. So if you're interested, obviously I'll be releasing some information about that in the next couple of weeks once that goes live. But if you guys are here, drop me a hi. Just let me know in the comments down below if anyone's got any questions. If anything you need to do, another big one, people are talking about like IP complaints. So we've had a few of them come through, and we're working with Jeff down below. So that's like really helping us. So in the UK, we've got, I think, 1 IP complaint. In the US, we've got 2, and that's on like 2 million sales last year in the UK and 200,000 in the US. Let me know your questions. I'm just going to put a comment down here. Let me know your questions in the comments below. Cool. So I'll just kind of drop that in. There you go. If anyone's got it, just drop me a comment down below if anyone wants to join. Any questions? I appreciate today seems a bit of a quiet day, actually. I normally have quite a lot of people joining. But also, if you've got anything I can help you with in your Amazon business, maybe you're struggling with, then do let me know down below. That's obviously going to be really, really helpful. And also, I can share that. So where are we at? So UK, obviously, we're seeing a decline in margins. Or should we say competition is increasing dramatically. A lot of underpricing, penny underpricing, prices being pulled down. Number 2 is we've got a lot of spare available cash, and I think a lot of people are in the same situation. So February is always the toughest month for, number 1, finding deals, and number 2, for actually kind of like really driving that business forward. Finding deals, but also making sales, making ROI. A big seller who I know, actually a really big seller who was doing decent 7 figures, very high volume, lower margin. They've messaged me privately over the course of the weekend and said, hey, they're looking to leave the Amazon arbitrage game. They're saying it's just not working out for them where they want to go. They want to go into a different place. So something very interesting there, and I think that's something that actually, especially at this time of month, in February, people are really going to be like, oh my god, is this business model still sustainable? Is there too much competition, too much penny underpricing? That's a real challenge. But I think also as well, the funny one is that just 3 months before, in December, everyone's sharing like amazing sales figures from Q4. It's a really like everyone's just booming. They're like bang, bang, bang. What's going on with that? So like, really good sales, good profitability in December, and 2 months later, everyone gets out. Interesting enough, I know a guy who pretty much stops from like February through to like July and then starts again, or they'll just do like Q4. That's it. They buy in Q4, sell in Q4, clear out in January, and then stop doing Amazon for another 9 months a year and just enjoy the profits. And I think that's a really interesting model. If you want to do that, you can travel the world. It's great, and not even have to worry about your Amazon business. You just come back and focus on to like 3 months a year. But guys, if you are here, I'm not getting any comments or anything. So if anyone's here, do just drop a comment in the comments down below. I'm very interested to know if anyone's got any questions, anything I can help with. Let me know in the comments down below. I can't see anything coming through, so I'm not sure if anyone is actually here or if anyone's in the stream. Just drop me a hello, maybe where you're from, calling, how your Amazon business is getting on. Obviously very interested to know about that. So I've not seen anything, so do drop me a comment down below if anyone is here. Also, I'm interested to help you guys, and if there's anything I can do to help you. Appreciate, obviously I can sit here and talk about myself, but it's not something that I really want to do. But for us, it's like, if there's anything I can help you with, then do have a look. So Sonia's coming already. Hey Sonia, Sophia. Hey, thank you very much for dropping it in. So great. So question: can you recommend a good prep center in the USA? Interesting enough. Let me just have a quick check. If you're now, I went in math. I just want to make sure I get the name right. It's on my phone, so I'm just checking. Ava, who I actually met in Florida, I really was really impressed with what she was doing, and I felt she had a really good team. Give me 2 seconds. I will just get it. There we go. So I'll kind of get the picture. Fast and Forward Prep Center. If you want to know, that is a picture of me with Ava at Fast and Forward Prep Center. I went there and met them. I really liked them. I thought they were really good. Do check them out. They're based down in Florida. I thought they were really cool. Really good service. Like I thought they were very genuine and really cared about the quality of the product and how they're delivering it out. So very, very good. We use a company in Delaware called New Hampshire called Amaware. We have had some problems in the past. So like they really got hit by COVID, and still things are a bit slow. So do look into them tax-free. But we've had it has been slow. But Fast and Forward Prep Center, these guys absolutely 24-hour turnaround. I was like, wow, that is quick. Like I'm not saying guarantee, but that's like they were getting stuff out there. So really, really happy with that. But have a look down below. Sonia, let me know if that answers your question, or is there maybe like one you were thinking about? Top tip for you if you are looking for a prep center, do what do you call it? Communicate, send them emails, get on the phone call, see how well they communicate. The reason is because at the end of the day, if things go wrong, it's their ability to communicate back to you. It doesn't matter how cheap it is. If they are super cheap and they're not kind of getting back to your communication, then you've got a problem. So it's really about communication. You've heard the horror stories. You're about to give these guys like $5,000, $10,000 of your cash. Make sure they have good communication. That's what I really, really recommend. So let's kind of come through. Great question, by the way, Sonia. Let me know if that helps down below. So let's kind of have a quick look. Ravi, is online arbitrage better? Is online arbitrage better than wholesale? Interesting question. It's pros and cons. If I try and do the pros and cons and let you decide, generally wholesale is, generally speaking, it's not necessarily. Obviously, you will find exceptions. Generally speaking, wholesale, you need more money to start with. Wholesalers want you to buy in bigger bulks. That's work. You can still do it for like $500, £500, but generally you're looking at a couple of thousand. That's where you want to get started. And you're having to buy in bulk to get discounts. Now, the advantage is that you can buy in bulk, and also as well, you get authorized email, kind of like invoices from your wholesaler. So that if you get IP complaints, they're really easy to get rid of, like really easy. And you can get ungated as well with wholesale. So that works really well. Generally, you need more money. That's the other thing. Online arbitrage, you generally need less money because you're buying from retailers. Just make sure you're buying from legitimate retailers, big, well-known brands, Walmart, for example, Asda in the UK, big brands. Generally, you're going to read about it. Like you're going to need less money to start with. So like maybe a couple of thousand here. You can start with, let's call it 500. I don't really like that. I still think you probably need a few, like 1,000, at least 1,000 to 5,000, because the cost of the account, the cost of all the tools that you need to get just starts eating into that capital. So generally a couple of £100, and or a couple of $100, you could be fine to get started. It's got a lower barrier to entry, and you can just go out and start like going online, finding stuff. It's simpler. Whereas wholesale, you need to open accounts. That's a bit more complex. It's not very hard. Just fill out some forms. The one disadvantage, as you say, wholesale is there are no rules to say, and there is nowhere on Amazon's website saying you cannot do so online arbitrage. But if you don't get the right invoice, it is a lot harder to kind of remove IP complaints. You can't get ungated with OA online arbitrage invoices. That doesn't work. So just be mindful of that. But if a lot of people do start, it's got a lower barrier to entry. And some people try it and then they move over to wholesale, and some people do wholesale, and then a lot of people do wholesale have done OA to start with, or they do a blended approach. There's pros and cons. So generally speaking, you'll probably find the wholesale OA is a little bit more profitable than wholesale, especially if you're doing like clearance lines. Not necessarily, but on the general, that's what people say at lower volumes. If you're going to scale 7 figures above, wholesale is generally where you want to focus. But I do know someone who's doing like nearly 10 million OA, so just it is a bit harder. I know people doing 50 million on wholesale, so very different. Hope that makes sense. Graham, hi. I've seen an interesting opportunity in USA called Zen Arbitrage, buying merchant fulfilled books on Amazon and selling them through Amazon via FBA. Do you have any thoughts? Yeah, I think a good friend of mine, Seth Baker, actually does this. You can find him on Facebook. He's got a group. He does it, and he does 7 figures a year. Like he did last year, 7 figures, I think. Did really, really well. You can definitely do this. Obviously, what you're not doing is you're not buying it. You're not selling it as new. You're selling it as used. So you're buying used, selling used. And it does work. Like I've seen it. So I even thought about it myself. It's just a whole model. So you've just got to set up your rules really well and be available to buy the moment you get that kind of alert to say this price has dropped. Do you want to buy this product? That's really, really important. So yeah, you talked about, is it against Amazon's rules? There's no specific rules. What you can't do is you can't sell as new if you can't prove that it's new, if that makes sense. So like through an authorized supply chain. So you can't sell it as new. That would be against Amazon's rules. But so buying it used, selling it as used, that's fine. That's just trading used. So I don't see a problem with that. And I've not heard a problem about that. You might get the odd complaint whereby you can't sell this brand of books. That isn't about the books themselves, it's the brand you can't sell as IP complaints. But I think Seth told me like it's $1 million in sales. I think maybe he had one IP complaint. That was it. And I think maybe, don't quote me, like I don't think it's even that many, so just be careful. But fine, I don't see a problem, and I think it's quite a profitable model if you want to start off with. Another good one, you can just go into like charity stores and scan books. Works really well. Great question, guys. If you've got questions, let me know down below. I will answer them, but I will kind of fire through them. I'm not spending too long, too short on each one because you haven't got too many questions. But if there's stuff you want to answer, let me know, and I'll kind of give you my thoughts. Again, I can talk about myself, but it's just boring. So why not answer your questions? #excited. So can you do a detailed breakdown of a product criteria, product analysis? Product criteria, we say a good rule of thumb is to start with about 30% ROI after ship fees and prep fees, and about £3 profit or $3 profit. Now, I say that as a good kind of guide. It's up to you. Like if you've got less cash, you probably might want to go a bit higher. If you've got a lot more cash, you might want to go a bit lower. But I think at the fundamental level, what you're trying to do is there is no set formula you want to use. What you're trying to do is to use the formula as a starting point. And then once you've done the starting point, is to then see what works and what maximizes your profit and then continue doing that. This is about kind of like refine. In regards to product analysis, go onto my YouTube channel. There's lots of like deal review. I review a deal, for example, or like how to review deals, or like review deals in like 30 seconds or 20 seconds, I think it is. And I talk you through my step-by-step process. So I have a very kind of like methodical way of looking at it, and we're trying to rule out when it has to be like green. Okay, now we do the hard parts. So we want to make sure we get all the hard part, the possible greens or reds out of the way first. So check that out on my YouTube channel. That should really help you. Mary Grace, hi Thomas, I'm a Filipino living in Morocco and I'm starting an Amazon trading on. How do you think about this criteria? Follows BSA above 3% at least 5 months. Yeah, fine, no problem. I don't see a problem. Yeah, BSA above 3% is fine. Like I think the majority of ours are under 1%. So and 5 sales a month, fine. Yeah, we normally look at like profit and ROI. You're just looking at sales volume. So Those two metrics are only sales volume related, BSR and sales, and at least 5 sales a month are only sales, they're not profit and ROI. But yeah, I don't see a problem with that. Cool. Let's carry on. English with me. I'm confused regarding prepping. I have an item that's classified as sharp, but it's already in packed, sealed up. So just FNQ level. Yeah, I don't see a problem. If it's classified as a sharp object, you need to be careful to say knife that's in a plastic container, and you're not going to stab yourself in a plastic container. But what you do want to do is just make sure that it's protected, and that number one, it's going to get to the customer in the condition that it should do when they open it, and then number two is there's a lot of noise in the background, and then number two is the fact that once you've done that, is to say that it's not going to get damaged in the thing. It's not going to get damaged on transit, or it's going to hurt someone. So if it's a sharp object, be careful. Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. Just make sure. Worst case scenario, bubble wrap it. Might be that. No idea what's going on outside. Sorry about the background noise. WeWork is seeing day. I've got a cup. No Amazon or brand on the listing. Chances of getting an IP complaint are low, right? Possibly. I would check the Fast Track FBA brand checker. Just check the brand. Also, as well, look at the keeper chart. Look at the new seller count. You want a history of multiple sellers. Ideally, more than 3, if not 4, and ideally multiple FBA. And what I would do is I'd look back at the price. You can do the buy box. Don't worry about it. Just turn on the FBA price and go back at the last couple of FBA prices, like you have the little dots. Click on them and see who the seller is, and you want to see the seller changes. If the seller changes, fantastic. But if the seller doesn't change, then it might be one FBA person. Don't necessarily be sure that it could be that like the brand is Adidas, but someone who's selling Adidas has named their store like Tom's Discount Goods, and when you click onto it and it says company name Adidas Limited, you're like, oh, okay, so I need to be careful. Or Adidas, sorry. So just don't necessarily take the brand on the listing as Bible. It's not a guaranteed one. History of multiple FBA sellers is a good one as well. And check the Fast Track FBA brand checker. Guriella Investor. Guriella. I think a song, I remember that. Hi Tom, what sort of metrics do you work on when you're buying in the UK ROI? So we've been quite honest with this. So we used to start off with about £3 profit, 30% ROI. I talked about before. Recently, we've gone down to about 20% ROI. It has been challenging. This is including prep and ship fees, and I think would even go down to about £1 profit. The reason is probably over the last 12 months, we have seen the ROIs and in the business of the UK market, the market's got a lot more competitive, and the net result is that it's a lot more pressure on products. So just be careful of that. That's going to be something that's super interesting. So you've got to be careful around that. So there is a lot more competition in the UK than there is in the US. We're definitely seeing that, and that's hitting margins. ROI, the selling prices are going down. So used to be 30% ROI, now we're 20%. Hope that helps. English with me. Retail stores don't make you all in one purchase. You buying a toy. If you want to buy 100, you can buy 10. The system won't allow more. Yeah, there are stores, retail stores like Superdrug, for example. You can sell more. I think look, the couple of things. If you really want to hack the system, create multiple accounts, change your IP address, choose different emails, and you can do like tom@gmail.com, tom+1@gmail.com, tom+2@gmail.com. Then I'll see all the emails will come to the same one. That works. VPNs to change your IP address. Also, as well, you can look at putting the address in slightly differently. So it might be like, Tom lives at like 5 London Close, for example, at this postcode. You might want to change it to like that's one shipping address, and the next one is like London Close 5 at that postcode, because their systems are looking at house name and number and postcode and quantity, I'm assuming. So you might be able to get around it that way. You're still going to be limited by the number of purchases you can make, and what you want to do is just try and figure out. Here's the thing. I know right now you're saying this retail store is really annoying, but if you can learn how that retail store works, or should say filters and stops you buying more than 10 when you try and create multiple accounts and get around it, then keep that knowledge, because no one else will do it, and everyone else can buy 10, you can buy 100. Now we're talking. Now you've got a competitive advantage. So, we don't really do any of that, nor do I know off the top of my head. But you can do it, and you can figure it out. We used to do it with like complete savings. So we had like four complete savings accounts at one point. So we understood how they tracked you, and we could change it. But I think for you at a fundamental level, see if you can figure a way around it. At the end of the day, if you can't do that, just stop buying. Buy the 10, move on. It's not worth it. You spend your money with someone who wants it. That's what I always say. You know, your time's more valuable. Graham, what do you got here? So Graham, if one runs a UK OA business selling in the USA, what is one's position in regards to sales tax? Does Amazon sort of off? Do you register sales tax? First thing first, I'm not an accounting professional, speak to an accountant. My understanding of the situation, regardless of whether it's UK or USA, doesn't really matter, is the fact that Amazon deals with sales tax. Now, my understanding is there is one state that Amazon will not deal with sales tax. So what do I mean by that? Let's say, for example, right now, whether you're a US company or a UK company selling on Amazon USA, if I have a phone I'm trying to sell for $100, then what will happen is Amazon will list it for $100, and then if someone comes in from New York, it'll say $100 plus sales tax for New York shipping address. If someone comes in from California, it'll say $100 plus the sales tax for California. Then what will happen is when anyone buys it, Amazon will sell it for $100 plus sales tax. And what it will do is it will then pay that sales tax to the state on your behalf, so you don't have to worry about sales tax filing. Now, the net result is you still get your $100 that you wanted. That's it. That's the way it works. So there is one state that I'm aware of that doesn't have an agreement with Amazon. And also as well, my understanding of sales tax and the way it works is you only have to do it if you're doing, I think, more than 200 sales per month in the state. It could be per year, don't quote me. But you have to be doing what I think is per month. If you're doing more than 200 sales per month in that state, then you have to register for sales tax manually. But if you're under that, you don't need to register for it, and you haven't reached the threshold for registering for sales tax. So, long story short, don't worry. Again, speak to an accountant. I'm not a professional. Hope that answers your question, Graham. Amit, hey Thomas, I can't get sales even with lowest price, and I have buy box. When checking SAS and Keeper, I can see that the item is selling well. What can be causing that? Look, top tip for you: it could be that you're on a variation, and that the variation you have doesn't actually have views. No one's viewing it. Top tip for you: Seller Central, back of house, business reports, bottom left hand corner, sales by child. It's like child sales by ASIN or something. Set the date range to the last like 2 days, for example. Download the CSV report, find that ASIN, go across the number of views, make sure people are actually viewing the product. It's very common to have like an ASIN which looks like it's selling on Keeper chart, looks really good, but actually the one variation you've got isn't getting any views, or maybe you're not actually getting the buy box that you think you are. Amazon does this trick that if you're logged into your Seller Central account and you go to your product, it'll show you you're winning the buy box. I've seen it many times, and when actually you're not, it'll put you on the buy box. So just be careful. That sales data back of house is the most realistic data you can get about the true, like what's actually happening with your products. You know, it beats Keeper, it beats everything else because it's your real data. So use it. Like honestly, check that data all the time. I think it's so valuable. All right, Guru Investor, would you recommend hiring an experienced VA? I don't have the time to train someone for 2-3 months, even if I use a training service to take 2 months to get scratch. You can, but I always ask the question, like, let me ask you a quick question for you. Let's say, for example, right now you're running this business and you have let's say, for example, 3 experienced VAs, or just say 1. My God, you've got an experienced VA yourself. And the very fundamental nature of a VA, they're going to find you products that you invest money into, buy, resell, make a profit, and then obviously pay the VA, keep money for yourself. Now, I kind of look at that. All you need is a VA, an Amazon account, and some cash. And now you're making free money, aren't you? Free money. And it's not too much work. So the question I kind of ask is like, they do exist, but I just kind of like a bit like they're probably quite rare. Now, there's a lot of people who say they're an experienced VA, but experienced VAs who are profitable and know what they're doing, that's a different thing. And I promise you, I've done this many times, is that I've had experienced VAs say, I'm experienced, can I work with you? And I'm like, cool, you know, 5 deals, find me 5 deals and tell me why they're good. And their deal analysis was like shocking, like absolutely shocking. It was like, oh my God. So if you're going to do experienced VA, just make sure you qualify them first. Like, don't just accept them, test them. Like, but you can do it. People have done it, and it can work. But just be careful about hiring them from like Facebook groups, because they're going to sell the deals to you and everyone else. That's one reason why I don't like doing that, because I'd much rather train people up and have them as part of my team, but you can do it. So I hope that makes sense. Good question though. Samir, I have a conundrum. I'm selling and selling okay, I guess. Interesting conundrum. You got the next one. Okay, cool. I can't seem to get the true figures of my business. I started 8 months ago. I'm selling well. My sales are increasing. However, I cannot really say that I'm making profit. Very, 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 very common. I promise you this. Very, very common. If you want my advice, like my real advice, tools like Seller Toolkit, Seller Board are amazing. They're very, very helpful for watching profitability on the individual ASIN level. But if you want to know what my real advice is, you need to like have some accounting software. You need to make sure that all your cost of goods are going in and your purchases, and then at the end of that, you can see what your true profit is. Because if I do it this way, Seller Toolkit, Seller Board, they're amazing. What they do is they account for your cost of goods when you sold something. That's great. But also what we understand is that your warehouse, Amazon, they lose stuff. And even Seller Toolkit and Seller Board, they help you out with the reclaims. They don't guarantee to get everything. And if the warehouse or Amazon lose stock, then there is no record of that. So you might have had £10,000 worth of loss, theft, something gone wrong, maybe you made a mistake, something's happened, and you don't really know what you're making money. So the way do we deal with it? That if I'm going to make this really simple for you, I'll do a two-step approach. Ideally, really, really ideally, what you want to do is you want to get accounting software like Xero or QuickBooks and do your profit account every single month. Make sure your balance sheets match with your bank accounts, match with your accounts, and then you can pull a balance sheet and a profit and loss. That is what we do. That's the way we operate, and that's the way I really recommend everyone should aim for. In the interim, between now and then, what you can do is use your tools like Seller Toolkit, Seller Board. Just make sure that you're putting in all your cost of goods correctly, but then also while they have the ability to put in your fixed costs, what I'd recommend is at the end of every month, you get out your bank statement, you go through every single cost in your business, which isn't stock, but every other cost, you put a line around it on your bank statement, and then you put that into Seller Board or Seller Toolkit as a fixed cost on that month, and make sure that everything's in there. And then that should give you a pretty good estimation of where your final accounts are at. Not guaranteed. Again, you're probably going to need an accountant. But a really good question and a very, very common one. And one thing, what's really interesting is once you understand that you're actually making money, or let's put it this way, not making money, because I will say I didn't make money in my first year, I lost money. That was a really common thing, and that was about hiring VAs, is to say, once you start realizing you're making money or you're not making money, and you understand all the metrics that affect that, then you start having clarity of information. And once you have clarity of information, you can then start taking action. But if you can't see what the problem is, you can't take action. You're just like, oh, I think there's a problem, but I'm not really too sure. First things first, get clarity. Once you get clarity, you can take action. But really, really common. And thank you for sharing. Tala, what are your tips or methods about product hunting and sourcing in? I don't source in UAE Amazon market at all. I really don't, not at all. I can only recommend look at the Fast Track FBA YouTube channel playlist. You'll see a sourcing one. That will help you there. But that's the only thing I can recommend. Apply those sourcing techniques in that market, and hopefully it should help you out. So the sales are coming in, and the ROI new drives are good, but overall things are not looking great. Well, interesting enough, very common. You're probably going to need more sales, more profit, which more sales should generate, or higher profit per item, which should generate you more gross profit. And then once you take out the fixed costs, things will look better. And let's have a look here. And the tools available online do not give consistent data to build the overall ROI. Does that make sense? Look, if you want a really fundamental thing, the way I break down accounts is revenue, income, sales. You got that. Then you've got your cost of goods. So like the cost of goods that you sold, the prep fees associated with that, your Amazon referral fees, your Amazon FBA fees, those. Outside of that, you then get what's known as your cost, gross profit, which is your gross profit. Now, what you'll have is you can do your cost of goods divided by the gross profit, and that will give you your real ROI. Not what the ROI per product is, but it will be like your cost of goods is 10,000. You made, for example, 20,000 profit, so your real ROI is 50%. So that kind of gives you a really good metric across the whole portfolio of products. Underneath your gross profit, you'll then have your payroll, which is the staffing cost, including your cost, and then all your other costs. So like I would put in there Amazon Seller Central fee, $35 or pounds, like repricing software, like P&L software, anything else you do, I put that in your fixed costs, and then you get your net profit. That's your net profit before taxes. And that's a good way of looking at it. I break it down to that thing, and I think that's a really easy way to do it. Revenue, everything associated with the revenue directly, i.e. the cost of goods and the Amazon fees and referral fee, gross profit, then payroll, and then fixed costs. That's how I break it down. And that's where you find that's quite easy. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I think for you, it's just really making sense on that. That's a really important one. Let's kind of go through Guerrilla Investor. With massive competition, what do you recommend to stand out above the competition in the array market? Would this be looking to get exclusive brand deals? Yeah, find products that other people aren't selling. That's the only thing I can really recommend. There is a lot of competition. We're really seeing that, but it's, you know, especially, so you want to differentiate yourself, you know, go for products which people aren't selling, maybe go for exclusive brand deals. They're a lot harder. Maybe change the way you're doing your model. You know, you might be looking at super slow selling items, super slow selling items and selling 1 or 2 per month at high profit. That's the thing. There's always going to be competition. And actually, and I hate to say it, and I really hate to say it, there's going to be more competition in the coming years because more and more people are starting on Amazon. The marketplace is getting bigger and more people want to sell. So there will be more competition. So I don't know the exact answer. If you want to get exclusive brand deals wholesale, fantastic, do that. But I think for you is about trying to find something which works for you. There is no one size fits all, because if there was, everyone would be doing it, which is what we see with OA right now, especially vanilla OA. Next one, English with me, but I am shipping to one prep center with a retail store. Where are you? What is your? My God, that question. Yeah, English with me. I just go find a different supplier. Find a different supplier. If they're not willing to take your money, move on. Stop worrying about it. Boots don't want to sell more than 3 items to me. They keep cancelling my orders. What do? Thanks, Boots. I'll spend my 100,000 a week somewhere else. You know, a lot of retail stores are struggling right now. I would be happily buying all that stock, but they're not letting me, so it doesn't matter. Let's move on. Gorilla Investor, what is your favorite sourcing technique that the most effective? I like. I think my favorite one, and I don't really do sourcing, I've got to be honest, is probably using Keeper to find brands where there's not too much competition and then reverse sourcing it. That would be my favorite one. But I think at a fundamental level, you should never just look at one sourcing technique. The best people use a range of sourcing techniques and they deploy them all at the same time. A very good example might be that you do storefront stalking. You know, you go find a supplier store, cool. You then reverse store and then reverse stalk. And then what you do is you find a couple of stores that their products are from. So now you're doing reverse sourcing. And then you might say, well, actually, now I'm going to look for voucher codes for that store. So now I found a voucher code and I'm going to sign up for the newsletter for that store because I never knew about them. So now I've got a voucher code. Now I'm going to apply that kind of sourcing around, you know, those products that I found from reverse sourcing. I'm now going to apply the voucher code so it's better. But also as well, because I found those products from reverse sourcing, I'm now going to use leaf sourcing to find other variations of those products or those brands and see if they're deals as well. So I'm now going to find more. So just in that very short kind of explanation, we've used storefront stalking, reverse sourcing, voucher code sourcing, newsletter sourcing for future reference, and leaf sourcing, 5 sourcing methods. And we're trying to maximize the opportunities or deals from one opportunity. I hope that makes sense. So that's the important one. But that'd be my thoughts. Rent. Interesting. Definitely very helpful. Thank you. How do you diversify your business to mitigate risk of oversaturation? You mentioned it earlier. I'm considering P&L, but I haven't started with the due to high risk. Thought about that. Really good question. Hopefully you've seen through my videos is that what we understand is that if you go UK online arbitrage wholesale, for example, into P&L, it's okay. P&L is a very different business to a wholesale. Yes, you're still on the marketplace. There's so much more. You've got to learn about listing optimization. You've got to learn about PPC. You've got to learn about competition, product, building products, product market fit. There's so much. It's a different. I just think it's a completely different game. Like, I'm not interested in it. But what I can do is I can do OA or wholesale on another marketplace. I already know the systems, procedures. I know it works. I know how to do it. I can just join a completely different marketplace. So why not do that? That's all we do. So we just, you know, we've seen it. We go into the US and we're looking at Germany this year. So that's something that I'm really looking at. And I think, you know, that's the way I would do it through risk diversification. And also to help the risk diversification, we're creating separate entities. So we have an entity in the UK, sells in the UK. We have a different entity in the US that sells in the US. We're not using global selling to sell from the UK to the US or the same account. We're using different accounts. If one gets shut down, we should be fine. Not guaranteed. Amazon knows it's the same passport. And also, we'll create a third entity in Germany, do the same thing again. Sonia, how many products can a VA find per day on average? Depends on your criteria. If you give them 50p profit, 10% ROI, you probably find 100. If you give them £10 profit, 10% 100% ROI, you find maybe one. We generally in the VA Academy we talk about a good VA after 3 months, maybe 8 to 12, roughly about 10, but it's a really bad metric. Spend per month is much better. Spend per day is much better. That's the one we look at. Chippy Chawa. Just tuning in to learn about online arbitrage. These are insightful. I'm learning a lot, as I could also apply for Amazon VA in reapplying it. Cool, fantastic. Good luck. Hope it goes well, and thank you for applying, and thank you for joining in. Fine. Let me know if there's anything I can do. Guys, if you've got questions, drop it down below. I'll keep answering. Thanks for the advice on VAs. Do the VAs have their own tools, i.e. keep a SaaS benefit to the training? No, you need to provide them. They're your tools. So that's in addition. It's kind of like if you went to go work in an office, say for example, you went to go work for Google. Google wouldn't ask you to bring your own laptop and your own desk and your own chair. They provide it for you. So it's the same as you. They turn up. Interesting enough, the VAs do provide their own computer and their own internet connection. So it's something to think about. Dan King, at the start when you were sourcing yourself, how were you finding most of your deals? Was it searching certain supplier websites and comparing to Amazon? If so, what suppliers and was it better? Dan, great question, but like you wouldn't even want to hear the answer, because when I was sourcing myself, it was like 3 years ago. Like I'm not gonna lie, I really don't source. So what happened 3 years ago is definitely not what happening now. I pretty much, if you want to know, there's a website I was using called Tesco Direct. They don't exist anymore. Tesco is the main one. We used Argos, Debenhams. I remember buying a lot from Debenhams. Superdrug we bought, they still exist. But the prices change, the market change, everything changes. Yes, I was doing like just manual deal sourcing. I was scraping stores, trying to find out when prices change, and then scraping, checking those products. It's hard. It's really, really hard, and it's still hard today. I never deny that, but I do think having a team is the best option. And we literally do that. Go to Argos, find the discount section, and then go to Amazon, compare the product. Profitable, cool, buy, sell. That's it. That's all we did. And sometimes Amazon reverse source. I talked about it earlier. So, and yeah, you talked about here searching Amazon, finding deals about. Yeah, did that as well. Did all of this, but it's hard. It's really, really hard. So don't get disheartened. And what I did 3 years ago is not what you should be doing today. Like the same stores, probably roughly. But again, like I always said, like just start out with it. Do sourcing playlists, get it right. But outside of that is do find out what's working in your business. That's the most important point. That's what I'd really recommend. Finley Wagon 1G, fantastic. Guys, if you've got questions, drop it down below. Obviously, I will answer any questions you do. But otherwise, it'll just be me talking to myself. HF, are you aware that creating multiple SKUs is tanking all your listings and ultimately losing a load of money? Interesting. So if you want to know, as part of the USS, you have the ability to create multiple SKUs. Now we've done a lot of people say this is like against terms and conditions. It's not. It's against terms and conditions to create multiple listings of the same product, but you can be on the same listing more than once. An example would be like, say for example, you've got a product where out of date, you've got 2 different expiry dates. You need to have 2 different SKUs. Absolutely fine. And we've checked with 3 different times of Seller Central, and they've all said it's fine. So no problem there. Also, as well, in regards to our listings, we use Seller Toolkit, and Seller Toolkit has a really good functionality whereby you can say reprice versus the ASIN, not the SKU. So it won't compete against itself. So it doesn't tank us. So we're not competing against ourselves, if that makes sense. The other one which we do is across the range of portfolio products. Certain products are a bit old, some of them are not. Most of the products will probably just sit at the buy box price within reason. So if someone else kind of goes 1p under, we'll join the 1ps, and they'll go under us, and we'll join the 1p. And the net result is a lot of the SKUs, should we say, where we have multiple ones, we'll just reprice at the same repricing rules. So while it might look like that we're, should we say, tanking our own listings, we're not. We're just joining the market. The only place where we do kind of go under is when we want to clear stock down, and that's done on a time delay. So that kind of gives you a bit of an idea of how our repricing works. But multiple SKUs, it doesn't. We've checked it. We've been watching it. It doesn't cause us to tank our listings. But what we are seeing, especially in February, it's a really big thing. You know, the whole kind of OA market across like 1,000 different products is really going down. Lots of competition. Lots of people wanting to make sales. A lot of reprices, penny under repricing to make sales. And obviously, we see that because we're matching the price. And that does cause problems. So, are we losing money? No. Sometimes we are, I don't deny, in certain products on an individual basis, but across the whole portfolio, no, definitely still profitable. So, yeah, and I think at the end of the day, it's up to you. Sometimes we might lose money on products because we want to clear out because it's too much stock. But hey, it does happen. Good question though. Riza, what are your target max time to sell and wait until sale? Are you returning items and not selling 10 days? My God, you'd be lucky if the product gets into Amazon and is on sale within 10 days. No, not at all. You know, generally speaking, we look about 3 months. We want to get everything sold, so 90 days, most of the stuff, and that's live in Amazon. So yeah, we're not. Put it this way, we're not returning items. We don't like. I think at a very fundamental level, we won't return anything unless there's damage or there's a problem with it. Why? Because if you buy 10 products from Argos and return 5, that's okay. But if you're buying 10,000 and try and return 5,000, someone in Argos is going to flag that and they're going to go, "Hey, Mr. Tom, no, we're not selling to you anymore because you're a nightmare." So I think fundamentally it's not a good idea to, should I say, bite the hand that feeds the mouth. Returning products that aren't selling, you have to make a good buying decision in the first place. And if you messed up, you're gonna have to take that on the chin, and you're gonna have to take the hit. Are there any restrictions on sourcing from wholesalers in Europe and selling in the UK? Not as far as I'm aware. Not as far as I'm aware. Yeah, I probably just read up about authenticity complaints around what are the invoice requirements for authenticity complaints for within Amazon, and see if it says the country of origin has to be UK. But I don't think it is. We don't source from Europe wholesalers, so I don't think there's a problem. Thank you very much for your answers, Tom. They are refreshing. Cool. Glad I can help. Honestly, really, really glad I can help. Cool. Guys, if you've got questions, drop them down below. Hopefully I can give you some refreshing answers. Riza, which part of the business are you working on now, or fully automated? Fully automated, like I do. I hate to say it, 2 hours a week. I do watch, and it's not to say that if my business needs me for 80 hours a week, I will work 80 hours a week. Like that's it. But I have a team of 20 plus VAs running the Amazon businesses, and they will do it all. And different managers and histories of doing it. So very outsourced, or should we say, managed. What do I work on now? Just like I just ask good questions and point in different areas. The one thing, if you really want to, the one thing I really am working on right now is just finalizing the year-end accounts. They're there for the USA business. It's our first year, so the accounts are done. The accountants have seen them. They've come back with the provisional accounts. There's a few questions we need to check, and I'm just working with my team to make sure they're correct. That's it. And then I need to send them an email after this to today. So basically, by the end of this week, my USA first calendar year accounts will be done, and then we're just back to normal business as usual. Nothing else for me to focus on. That's it. English with me. I've checked the keeper chart. Only the start of the month there's one FBA sale, the rest FBM. Yeah, I'm looking for FBA. I'll be looking for FBA, history of FBA sellers. FBM could be people drop shipping. Just be careful of that. FBA is what I'm looking at. So, guys, if you've got questions, let me know down below. Otherwise, just me drinking coffee live on camera. So, Gorilla Investor. So, combination sourcing is the best. I'm keen on your VA service. On average, when they finish with your academy, how many deals can they find in a day? So, the metric of so always do combination sourcing. VA Academy service, the way we work it is it's a 3-month ramp up. Month 1, average deals per day that you're buying. That's the metric we care about. Purchasing, not number of deals submitted. Purchasing 2 to 5. Month 2 is 5 to 8. Month 3, 8 to 10, 8 to 12. But we recommend you don't use that. We recommend transition to a spend target or spend per week. And there's reasons behind that. And we talk about it because that's a lot closer aligned to revenue and profitability. So it really, really helps. So that's our thoughts. So let's so that's my answer. But if you are interested, have a look. Gorilla Investor. How many days does the whole life cycle take from sourcing to product back in your account? So far I'm achieving 48. 48 days is good. Like I would take that. I think We're running at 40 in my Amazon business. And by the way, that's not like, that isn't profit coming back in the business. So if I give you some metrics, and this might be something quite interesting for you to understand, you can kind of compare your business to mine. So our business, we track, we spend £1 or dollar today, and that means the day we spend it, it converts from cash into stock. Stock goes to the prep center. Prep center ships it to Amazon. Amazon waits. It gets on sale. Then it waits, and then it's sold. The moment it's sold, for us, is our 40 days. 40 days. Just keep that in mind. You've then got to add on 2 more weeks because Amazon does reserve fund, and then it's back in my bank account to start the process again. So you're looking all in, that is 64 days. 64 days in my business. Now, within that metric, Amazon holding, or should we say days in inventory, how quick we hold stock. You can see it by going to Seller Central inventory IP inventory reports, and you'll see like days in inventory. I think we track around about 16 days in inventory. So that means that my stock will pretty much clear out within 16 days on average across the whole range of products. We have about 1,000 SKUs or 11,000 units. So when you think about that kind of 40 days plus the 14 makes 64, within just the Amazon part, on average, it's probably sitting there for about 16 to maybe 16 to like 16 days. So that's 2 weeks. So 40 days, 2 weeks of that, like half of that time. So if you double it, 16 is 32 because the average is 16, for example. So that means most of my products are going, I can't really do the math in my head. I'm trying to explain it. Yeah, so it's like 40 days from buy to sell on average internally, and then it's sat in Amazon for 16 days, and it takes 64 days for the whole process to happen. I hope that makes sense. That's kind of like, I think when you talk about the whole life cycle, that's what I'm trying to explain. Gorilla Investor, let me know down below if that's what you're asking, and I think that's explained it. Right, what should we do when Amazon asks for an invoice? Provide them with the invoice. That's it. We do OA. We get invoices. We provide them to Amazon. Problem solved. That's it. So yeah, do look at do that. We don't do wholesale, but when we do, we'll provide with the invoice as well. Get the invoice. Simple. You said that you didn't make money in the first year. How did you manage to carry on starting to get disarmed? Fine. So let me give you an idea. Let's say, for example, if I put in £10,000 right now, and we did 100,000 in revenue, and at the end of that year, I made a £1,000 loss. I still did 100,000 in sales, but but if I cancelled everything down, like debt and all the other stuff, I now only have 9,000 left. So the one thing you've got to think about is that in any period you will make a loss. I promise you that. And if I give you an example, let's say, for example, today you start and you sign up to Amazon Seller Central, you spend £30, and then you stop tomorrow. Well, technically, you've made a loss, haven't you? You've lost £30. That's it. You've messed. But hopefully, you're going to continue that business over a time frame. That you're going to recoup that loss and make more money. Now, interesting for me, I knew I wasn't far off like where we were, and I thought I was making a small profit. But obviously, once we did the accounts and we factored in like my VAs weren't doing a good enough job. This is like long before my other businesses. Also, as well, we had stock control problems. There were just issues. We weren't making as much money on the ROI. There were costs we didn't factor in. That the small profit we thought we were making actually got wiped out. So hence why I really stress kind of do look at your bank statement, put it on your seller toolkit, and then also move to a proper accounting solution, which gives you a full P&L. So I will own that. I will say that, I'm not this person who started and just successful. No, my God, I failed. I lost money. It does happen. But I think, I learned from that. You've got to be on top of your accounts at the end of the day because you don't understand. It's easy to lose money. But we still did, but the thing is at the end of year one, we lost money, and it wasn't huge. It was only a couple of thousand. We lost money, but also as well, we learned a lot. And the way I kind of perceive it is like, yeah, we lost a couple of thousand, but actually I just paid a couple of thousand for an education. But also as well, I now knew how to do a business doing 6 figures. We now had access to capital, and I could now deploy that capital in the right way to turn it around. In year 2, we made a profit. So fun. So I hope that makes sense. Let's carry on. English with me. Also regarding IP clients, 2 FBA sellers. They were added only last month. One of the private owned EGA AEGA Limited. Is this a problem? Maybe, I don't know. I really don't know. I would personally like just go find another seller, message them the brand and say, hey, do you think these guys are dangerous? Top tip for you, go find the brand and look at other ASINs. Are there other sellers on that ASIN? That's a real question. Like, if this one ASIN isn't and the rest of them are, you're fine. But if there's a lot of ASINs where there's a lot of problems, then yeah, I'd probably like no other sellers. I'd be a bit like, whoa, be careful. Guys, we've got about 10 minutes. So if you've got any more questions, do let me know. And obviously I will answer them. Sam, right. Do you use a SKU setting on SDK Repricer? I think we do. Don't quote me. I don't manage that. I let my team do it all. I think we do. We do really want to bring it up again, but it's really interesting because when you think about it from a high level, let's say, for example, I do the SKU setting between 1 and 2. And let's say, for example, someone else does the SKU setting between 3 and 4. Well, I might snooze between 1 and 2, and then my repricer comes back on and sees that the competition's still at the same price as I was, and then obviously matches them. Let's say, for example, I'm £10. It should be like 20, and the pricing comes down to 10. I snooze, so my price goes back up to 20, but the other person hasn't snoozed at the same time, so then they're still at 10. So my snooze turns off, checks the price, matches the buy box, back down to 10. Now they snooze, go back up to 20, turn back on. Now they're back down to the price. So unless we align our snooze times, it doesn't, like, snoozing doesn't help because the market doesn't change. That's one of the real problems you have with like these kind of things at a fundamental level. So yeah, I think we do it. I let my team manage that, and they are tweaking the repricer. They are playing around, and at the end of the day, it's not my job to micromanage that. I let them do it. But it's a really good point. But I think also as well, you got to understand that unless they're aligned, snoozing won't help because the market will change. Gorilla Investor. Yes, that's exactly what I was asking in regards to life cycle. In my case, it'd be 60 plus days as well. Yeah, fantastic. Cool. We're on the right track. Cool. Dan King, before you buy a product, how can you tell which variation is selling? Top tip two. Oh my God, there's just type in Fast Track FBA YouTube channel about how to check if a variation, which variation is selling. I did a video on it. It's 3 ways you can check. Fundamentally, you can do like the keeper charts, if they actually are different, that helps out. Number 2, we look at the review count. We do the review count, change in review count over time. I think the other one is like how many recent reviews they've done, and we kind of add them up. And each review we estimate to be 100 sales. That might be one. And there is one more, and I've forgotten what it is. I think there's one more. So yeah, look at that YouTube video. That will really help you out. It's going to go through when do you abort on a product typically? If my products aren't selling for 3 months and there's suddenly too much competition, I pack it in and crash the price to 5% ROI. Do you do something similar? Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, like if I give you an example, let's say for example, I invest £1,000 into a product, and that product, when we first bought it, we thought, cool, this looks good, we're happy with it, we'll get 30% ROI, we're happy. And then all of a sudden, maybe it's on like lots of leads lists, everyone comes in, the price comes down, and now the product, maybe is going to be making 5% ROI, but also as well, it's normally selling 20 units per month, and now it's selling, and now like there's enough sellers with enough stock that there's like 200 units in the listing, for example. Like that's 10 months worth of supply. Damn. So for us, might be like, okay, look, well, there's £1,000 sat there. What I could do is I could take £100 loss, for example, i.e., I'm going to lose £100 on it. I'm not selling even 5% ROI. We're losing money on it. And then I could take that £900 and go invest it in something else and get my 30% ROI back in a month, 2 months. Now, the net result is that, yes, I've lost 100 here, but I've also gained maybe 20% ROI at £900, £180. I lost 100 here and I've made 180 there. I'm now up £80 overall. Or I could have sat there with this money for the next 10 months trying to get my money back. And for me, sometimes it just doesn't work. So for you, it's up to you how you run your business and the way you want to do it. And again, it is just business. It's up to you, and you might lose with the one hand and gain with 2 other hands on here. But people only really look at the lose side. And I would say look at the portfolio as a whole. So we never look at one individual product. We look at the portfolio as a whole and the margin on that, and we manage that rather than one individual product. So, and you say like crash the price, we'll just sell through. And even if that means we take a loss, sometimes we will. Dan King, I have a criteria list for my products. However, pretty much every time I find a product, it's not hitting every point on the criteria, e.g., 30%, but it's only 25, or 5 confirms, but it has 7. Yeah, well, something's got to change, hasn't it? Two things: either way, you got to find more products, or you got to change your criteria. And what's it called? There's something about like uh, everyone has a plan until you get smacked in the face, something like that. And the idea is like, yes, we have a plan for our business, great, but also as well, what we understand is that the plan has to react to reality, and we have to constantly adjust that. So um, what am I trying to say there is it's great to have a plan, fantastic, but it might be the case that you have to look at what the market conditions are and what you're able to do, and maybe do a micro test to say, hey, actually, either I stick to my plan and I can't achieve the number of deals I need, or maybe I'm gonna have to change my plan and see, and then or I'm going to have to change my criteria and then readjust my business plan, if that makes sense. So you know, I right now, and I hope you've probably understood it throughout the whole of this kind of live today, is that in the UK marketplace, we're seeing a real increase in competition. We're seeing a real decrease in margins. Lots of reprices are very aggressive. February is a really tough time. Ukraine, at the moment with Russia, that's probably caused people maybe not to buy so much. I don't really know the answer, but what we are seeing is there is a lot of competition in the marketplace, and the net result is that we're not really hitting that kind of like that sweet spot. It's a really tough time. It's a really, really tough time. And also as well, my God, everyone's just come out of like 2.5 years of COVID where like Amazon business is booming. Now we're getting back to reality. Shops are open, no more masks, no more lockdowns. There's going to be a lot more pressure on it. And the good days, last 2 years are, maybe coming to a bit of an end, and we're correcting. So I think perhaps maybe it's about relooking at your business model and how that plan works in that business model. I hope that makes sense. For you, do I still think you should buy? I think maybe you should try and test it. Always do tests, see what happens. I always talk about that. Have a plan, try and work on the plan, or do micro tests, see what happens. Because reality is your plan is never exactly the same reality, and you always need to readjust. 3 minutes, guys. Let's kind of rack through the last couple of questions. I have opened a USA marketplace on my UK LT deal. I was going to start the OT, but I heard that some of the retail websites decline cars. So is that true? Some of them, not all of them. Just start buying, try it, test it. Don't worry. Just start going. Bye. Don't wait for me. Just do it. GFDI, man. Just do it. Get buying. That's the real point. Don't wait for me. Just do it. There are going to be suppliers who do accept UK cards. It's fine. Mohammed, looking at Gavin Sweeney last week, what was his fundamental growth strategy in 600 and sale in 2 years? He was very good at trending products. He talked about it in really great interviews. No one's watched it. Really watch it. Like Gavin's a G, like absolutely amazing. The 600K from 1,500 starting, I think it was. The takeaway I really took is that he learned the business. I mean, really learned the business. Two things. He did trending products. And trending products are like literally whereby he had what do you call it? Like I think he talked about printers, and he talked about something else. Very high value trending products, did really well. And then the other one that he did was he just really understood his market. So he talked about it. I think it was off air, and I kind of referenced to it. There was a discount code that you could only use once, but he figured out you could use it many times, and he spent like $4,000 or something in that one day on one discount code. And as a result, he get really good profits. And he turned, and he even said when he was doing the high value products, he was basically doubling his money every month. My God, if you've got like, he got PayPal loans as well. Let's say, for example, you got a £10,000 PayPal loan, and then you made 10,000 profit in 1 month. That's incredible. That's now you've got 20,000 worth of capital. If you do that again, that's now 40,000. You got 40,000 capital. Do it one more time. I think he said like 3 months he was doubling his money because he did really well. So he knew his market really, really well, and that's I think the real takeaway. Know your market, like really understand it. Then the detail. Right. Thanks for the answer. Will the invoice of 5 units be accepted? I heard there should be at least 10 units. Amazon tells you what they want. It says something like when it's asking for invoices for something other than ungating, gating is 10. But if Amazon wants it to prove authenticity, it said that the invoice should reflect the volume of sales that you're doing. So say, for example, if you sold 10,000 and you've only got an invoice for 1, they're going to be like, that isn't reflective. But if you sold 10 and you've got an invoice for like 10, you'll be fine. I say be fine. Again, it's up to Amazon. I can't guarantee it. I'm not Amazon. Send the invoice in, try it, see what happens. That's all I can say. Right, that is pretty much it, guys. I do just want to say thank you so much. If you've liked this, give me a big thumbs up, and hey, just let me know down in the comments if if you enjoyed this. Maybe if you wanted to change the format, do something a bit different. I try and keep it Q&A. It's quite simple for you guys. I really want to answer your questions and help you out. So hopefully you found this informative. Give me a thumbs up if you have. Obviously, if there's anything else you want me to change, do differently, let me know in the comments down below. But again, I'll be back here next week, and same time. So it's pretty much like 9 a.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. Or 3 p.m. London time, and like 11 p.m. Philippines time. I think that's it. So those are kind of the ones on my clock. So do let me know if there's anything else I can do. But also really happy to help you guys, and thank you so much for spending your time. Keep smashing it. This is hard. Remember, we've done 2 years of really good Amazon OA business during COVID. Margins were great. Current Q4. Now everything's going back to normal, and my God, we're seeing that decline. We're seeing that tough times. But hey, it was good. We've got to have the bad, and obviously there's a lot going on in the global scene as well. So stay in there. The business is still sustainable. Just going to have ups and downs. But hey, everyone, thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye.